Jam again, here for another episode of the Mental Health Check-In Podcast. If you're a returning listener, cool. Thanks for listening to these episodes for a solid month now. If you're a new listener, then cool. Let's get to know each other a little bit. Either way, I hope that we can all just heal together, just by spreading awareness about what's going on through our heads these days. And on this episode rather, I'm speaking to a local Detroit photographer and model named Scott Millington, who some of you may know by his on-screen persona, Polly Rocket. Now, this is going to be a little shorter than most episodes just because the Wi-Fi connection was a little off, so it's a little staticky during the conversation, which that's no one's fault. It just it's how the universe works, I guess. Which brings me to a quick question that I want to preface this with. How do you recover from situations that are out of your control? Stuff that no matter what you do, the chips are just going to fall where they may, and you're not going to like where those chips go. Situations not that different from the pandemic, for example, or in less extreme cases, just basic unforeseen events like a breakup you can't resolve, losing your job, or of course a good interview with a bad connection. I know in my case it stressed me out a little bit, trying to figure out how I was going to put this out in a way that's presentable. And I didn't want to scrap this or redo this because I think we got some really good gems in this episode. Scott's a cool dude. He dropped some knowledge during our session that I think a lot of people could learn from. And I thought it'd be wrong to try to duplicate it by re-recording it. It might come off as disingenuous. But for situations like these, there are ways to cope. Nothing's perfect, but it doesn't have to be when you can adapt. I adapted by editing this episode the best of my ability to make it comprehensible, and looking at what I got, I'm happy with what I got. You can't control the things around you, but you can control how you react and respond to each situation. Not every situation you fall into is going to be the happiest, but you are capable, you have the control to search for what kind of happiness you do want in your life. You can find that happiness elsewhere, either by morphing your present predicament or just you've got to hunt your own happiness, meaning you have to focus on what you can control and what can make you happy. And that might be by trying to look at the positives or picking up a hobby. And Scott talked a lot about that. He gave some good suggestions on how to find your passion and control what you do with that passion rather than wallow in what you can't control. So I'm going to transition to that conversation right now. Welcome back to the podcast. My next guest is a very talented photographer and model out of Detroit, Scott Millington. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I was actually really excited to talk to you because, for starters, we just started like really talking in the last couple weeks, and also this is the first time that someone's actually like asked to come on the podcast. Usually, I'm asking them, so like I was really excited for this. And what's really interesting about this is that like usually that I know the guest a little bit, and like it's basically the listeners getting to know them. This is in this case, this is me getting to know you as well, since again we're just getting to know each other ourselves. So I
Yeah,
guess
same thing. I expect to
mhm,
learn from you too, also. So,
mhm. So I guess I can just tell the people about yourself a little bit.
I over like the last 2 years, I really picked up photography. Actually, my friends call me the mayor, and also TMZ because I go everywhere and I'm always taking photos.
Hmm.
So one time I went to San Francisco to go see the Lions play, and I'm like, okay, this is my chance to go buy a camera. So I bought a camera and just kind of really shot photos, but it had no clue what I was really doing when it came to actually editing the photos. And eventually, quarantine really got me to sit down and actually start editing. So my photography game has really blossomed since COVID started. But during that time, before COVID, last summer, I got really depressed and kind of lost all that creative drive that I had. Um, the silly break up with someone and you think the world's over and this and
Hmm.
that. And it took me a little while to get out of that rut. But I came across a really talented photographer on Instagram. She was asking for some models for the Dirty Show. And I was wondering if I could do it, but how do I actually fit in that? And I kind of wanted to be very mystique about it. And so I pitched this idea of wearing like a spooky mask. Turned out to be a gas mask. And I kind of wore some out of the box clothing that a normal guy wouldn't wear, um, like a dress. And so I pitched the idea, and she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So the first day we shot, I actually shot with a couple other models, and I was a little nervous, but it turned out to be really good, and it was a great experience for myself. And I enjoyed it, so I kind of pursued that more and started to work with other photographers and partnering up with different people, and that really, really got my creative juices going, and so that really kind of led to the whole buckling down on my photography and getting that creative side going too. It's been a journey. So
Sounds like a really good journey. And looking at your photos, I've noticed you really improved in the editing department. Your color palettes are improving. So I'm proud of you
yeah,
for taking that plunge.
what'd you say?
I say I'm proud of you for taking that plunge
Oh, thank
to
you. Yeah,
start photography and stuff, and like go even harder during this quarantine. And you
yeah.
mentioned that,
It was kind of really helpful because there was a lot of stuff. Actually, just going down for the protests down in Detroit was also a really chance to get some raw photos, some real raw emotions,
mhm,
and I guess the one thing with photography is you have to kind of figure out what your style is, and those protests actually kind of really helped me develop like what kind of style I wanted. I kind of wanted um, like something dark, and something not dark, but like more, I guess like more moody photos, kind of like that. And so kind of to me, it brings out the object that I'm taking, a photo of, if it's a person or if it's a car or a building. For me, putting the dark edges around it kind of brings out the object, and so that kind of really helps with that. And I've kind of transitioned from doing more like landscape and street photography to actually doing portraits, which has been kind of hard. A little nervous because sometimes you don't catch the right angle, or you're concerned of what the model thinks of your photos. And but I really jumped into that, and it's been great success so far. So
that's cool. And earlier you mentioned that like you got into photography because you were in a depression. And we don't have to get deep into it, but I just want to know, are you okay now? Like how you feeling now these days?
oh yeah. Feeling a lot better.
Good.
It's just like I said. It was like if you look back at it, it was like, oh, silly. It's like why get depressed on that? And you think the
Hmm.
whole world's ending, and there's just like
Hmm.
it kind of just like that snowball effect, and I kind of
Hmm.
really wasn't taking care of myself.
Hmm.
And photography really helped. And that's always it was good to go to all these events. And then same time, also even COVID, like taking that away from taking all the abilities to go out and do some stuff, kind of made me look in the mirror, and it's like, hey man, you're gonna be fine. You don't have to. You're not missing out on something if you're not going out on a Friday night, or you don't have to overcommit. And so that kind of really helped with that. And I think that just like having the expectations to be perfect all the time was something that I kind of battled with too. So,
Why you say that? If you don't mind my asking, why do you think you have those expectations?
I mean, I go to therapy, and I've been going for the last like a year and a half, and just upbringing and all this, and so like first generation college student that you really didn't have too much support from parents, and as a grown up, it's there really wasn't much expected, so I always put up for me at least expected of me. So I always put this high pressure, like, okay, I got to be 100% at this. And I think that with the having my plate, full of the different things, I really couldn't be 100% at everything. So it's like, sit back, focus on certain things, and do the best you can on those. And so, because then I looked at myself, and I was failing, quote unquote, at least in my eyes, at it, and then that kind of just like I've always built that, and I just never really spoke to anyone about it. It was just that because I have the tendency of not asking for help or something like that, and I've worked on that, and I'm always down to ask or talk with something. So it's like, your mental health is the most important thing you could do. You always have to put yourself first, and I worked in a field where I was always helping out other people, so it was a great way to deter from actually focusing on myself.
Yeah, and I'm proud of you for taking the leap to go there because a lot of people, it's a hard journey to really make that leap to go therapy and learn about yourself and look inward in ways that may be challenging. So I'm really proud that you took that plunge, and I'm happy that you can find peace from that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a hard. And I got really lucky because I met a really good like therapist, and we really kind of connected. Because it's like I think there's like three things. There's you're finding your significant other, finding a good barber or a hair salon
Hmm.
or hairstylist, and a therapist. Those are like three important things,
Hmm.
and it's it's a lot of hard work into finding those people like that because you're really keeping yourself vulnerable in those situations. So
For those wondering and like for those like looking for their own therapist or thinking about getting their own therapist, what do you recommend that people need to look for when looking for a therapist?
well, I mean, I can speak for myself on that. For what I was looking for is I was looking for again I was relationship breakup. So when I just Google searched therapists in my area, and then when it came up to this site, it had maybe 100 people, and you could kind of click boxes. So for self, I was looking someone that could kind of work with the breakup, and but also a lot of that had some I hate using the word trauma, but trauma as a kid or in growing up. So look for that, something that could really kind of focus on that. But for me, it was someone that I could connect that was relatively my age. To me, I felt comfortable opening up to someone that. So you just kind of figure out who are you comfortable being around and trying to find that therapist. It's hard work. It really is hard work to find something. And thankfully, it didn't take me long to find one, but it's something I would advise everyone to see, even if you're going really good. Those are some days you really want to take in and bask in those situations and celebrate those wins and talk about those things. Just don't always wait for those negative things to start talking about people or talking to people about because those things get yourself in a good routine of talking to people.
And I'm really glad you said that because, like, I think, like, talking to people, be it friend, family, or a therapist, that just makes all the difference. Because the more you just bottle that up, it just kind of like it like spreads into you basically, and then it just becomes hard to like get out of you. Like it's better to just lay out to someone who's willing to listen.
Yeah, yeah. It's you have to find that person, and sometimes it takes an outside source that'll be able to talk to it because sometimes you might not be willing or readiness to talk to your parents or talk to your brothers and sisters or cousins or those close people that you would consider in your life. So sometimes it's easier to just talk to a third party.
Plus, it's like an unbiased third party, like somebody who's just going to help you the best way they can without bias or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's it's the you don't want that judgment from that, and not saying that your family or your friends may judge you, but there it is a fear. At least I was thinking there's a fear of that, and it kind of helps. But also people might not have those close ones that are available to talk to. So why uh, why not find someone that's available for you?
And even if you do have someone who isn't going to judge you, even if as long as you have that fear in the back of your mind, it's best to put yourself in a situation that's going to make you most comfortable. And if that situation is just a therapist is who doesn't have any bias, then hey, put yourself in that situation once a week. And you mentioned family and friends. I'm curious, just like because you're very much in the photography community at this point. Do
Yeah, yeah.
you would you say that like that sense of community can be uplifting in itself, just like mean like-minded individuals who you can look on as friends and maybe even view as family in a lot of ways?
Yeah, no, that's it's definitely. I'm glad you definitely glad you brought that up. Sorry, I'm having some Wi-Fi issues.
Oh, it's all good.
So I'm about to do this in my backyard.
Mhm.
Yeah, for me, it's like when I started meeting people through some like classes I took, and just those friends became Instagram friends, and then I started meeting up with them and go go shooting like a sunset or something like that, and that common bond, and I feel like a lot of people are very accepting, regardless of the type of modeling I do or the street photography people do. They're really very very open with that, and they're always down to do collaborations. So I think this is really kind of cool. And it's, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like certain different groups that I've been in and interacted with in my life. And there's never been anything like this because you're down. In fact, even just us talking through on Instagram, through that community, and we're always down to help someone out and collaborate because it's good, and you just really never know where networking actually takes you. And you might find someone that you might, find that photographer that's going to shoot myself, or I might be the photographer that shoots someone else, and who knows? We post that, and we get a million likes or something like that, or something rewarding out of that. Or even if it's not, like no one likes it, you still have those memories that you created.
Mhm. And that's what I really love about the photography community. It's very welcoming. Like they're bring anybody in, everybody's down to help each other. It's super cool. That's what I love about it.
Oh, for sure. And it's just like a couple of like my photography friends that I've been close with, like since like high school or college. Like they'll throw me a bone, like, hey, you know, my photography more focuses on weddings and this, but doesn't. So why don't you go over to Scott? He'll be able to take care of you and do those headshots or something like that. So I think that's kind of cool. And it's just like when it's always, if you can't do it, if your schedule is full, it's good to refer to someone else.
If we could pivot a little bit to your modeling a little bit, what I really admire about your modeling is that you seem really open to just try anything in front of the camera, and you seem like you're very comfortable in your own skin, and I admire that so much. So I just wanted to know, like, how you get in the mindset of getting in the camera and just, being comfortable, being what you do, doing what you do.
Um, yeah. So like I told you, the first time I think I shot with I shot with four girls, and the photographer was also she was a lady. So five women that are shooting with, and I'm just this this guy wearing my hat coming in, normal street clothes, and I went to go in the changing room, and so the first art we were doing was more like spooky for the dirty show. And so when I came out of the changing room, they were expecting me to be in this like suit, and this and that. But I came out with a gas mask and dress and some tights, and so I was different. But they were so warm and so welcoming that it because I would admit that there was some butterflies in my stomach because it's my first time doing it. I had no like I never modeled as a male or anything like that, so it was different. And so they were really cool with that, and I became really comfortable shooting with one photographer. So then I'm like, okay, I want to branch out, and I want to. So my character is Polly Rocket, and I want to branch out, and I want to have different sides of this character. The first couple shots were really dark and Halloween esque, and I wanted to like change it up and do a little bit more like bubblegum and like pink and this and that. So that was something different. It was shooting with a new photographer, but she was really comfortable with me, and we did a couple sets like that. And so that was really cool. And it was like, okay, so I kind of have this like alter ego that I can mold. And over time, when I work with a new photographer, I want that photographer to put their own twist on Polly. So if they're, I don't know, I've worked with a couple of photographers who are more messy. So I've done a couple of messy shoots. And so it kind of adds a new layer to poly, and it's just over time I became really comfortable because I don't take it serious. Like I'm not, I don't think I'm going to go to Broadway or anything and be this model, but it's for me, it's an opportunity to cut loose and be someone different. So that's why I can be so comfortable and I can just laugh. For me, it's about being laugh and smiling. Um, and even if it's something serious or if it's something like a funny shoot we're doing, I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to be smiling if I have a mask on, or if it's just me and my plain face, I'm going to be smiling regardless of what we're doing. People are like always telling me, "Oh, put a serious face on it." I'm like, "Well, I can't. I just enjoy doing this, so I'm gonna smile." So that's a hard thing when it comes to modeling, but also at the same time, that modeling and taking directions from photographers really helped me become a photographer, and I can direct models also. So that was really helpful in that end.
How did you come up with the character Polly?
Um, so obviously, like I said, I wanted to do this shoot, but I wanted to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that I didn't know how many people would be interested to see some guy doing, this in some type of role. So I kind of wanted to really, first of all, I wanted to keep it secret, and I wanted to wear that mask. I thought that was something that's kind of cool, and I kind of just always followed like weird art or weird movies, and so I'm like, well, let's do something unique. And so I kind of was just scrolling through ideas, and I came up with this. It was like a black and white. I think it actually is like like a dress that had like hearts on it. It was white, and I'm like, oh, this is sweet. I'm gonna do this, and so that was my idea through that. So like, and it's really just helped with a lot of photography. It was just interesting to kind of grow that way, and like you said earlier, you've seen a lot of growth in my work, and that's like the hard thing is to like accept those like compliments. So that's what I kind of struggled a couple years ago when I got depressed, and then like you get to overthink. So I do appreciate that you do say that my work has grown because a lot of people say it, and now I have no problem saying thanks, and I look forward to growing my work even more. I got a new camera coming on Thursday, so I'm really excited to start taking some better photos with a better camera, but also I want to start doing videos also. So I don't know what I really want to do, if it's just like my friends hanging out and kind of capturing that home video type feel to it, or eventually make a small 2 minute clip or something like that. But just excited to add that new repertoire to my tool belt. So
So dope. I'm really excited for you. It sounds like you're really like building a following, trying to improve your game a whole lot with all this new equipment. I'm so excited to see where you go.
oh yeah, thanks man, thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's something that I know where like video is a lot more. Everyone can really take photos, but it's
Mhm.
the capturing videos really can separate you as when it comes to a photographer. And the thing is like I know my work always needs to be worked on, or I'm always looking to improve it. If it's watching some YouTube videos or sitting down with some other photographers, because the cool thing with like photography and videography is like everyone has their own different style, so you could start learning and see what other people use to capture photos or stuff like that, and kind of just talk that over. If there's like a certain like inspiration for me, it's like when it comes to photography, I just really like if a bike is locked up against like a bike rack, like I'm gonna pull over on the side of the road and take it because something for me that catches my eye. I don't know diddly poo cars or anything like that, but like if I see a nice like old school car, especially if it's like parked against like a wall or something like that where the color just pops out, like I'm gonna stop and take a photo through that. So those are things that really kind of tick with me when it comes to working photography.
All right, nice. And backtracking a little bit earlier when you were talking about when you first became poly, you mentioned that when you first did, you had some butterflies in your stomach, but you went through it anyway. How did you get to the point where
Yeah.
you were able to work through those butterflies?
Well, at that point when those like, well, so like, okay, so it's like I had to drive there, and so that was like kind of nerve wracking,
Mm-hmm.
because again, I never met this photographer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a brand new person, but I knew what her work was, so it kind of aligned with what my vision was. So that
Mm-hmm.
was something that was really positive. Again,
Mm-hmm.
the other models that were with me, I didn't know who they were, um, but I knew that they were coming to a shoot like this, so that I knew that they would be comfortable, to an extent with, being what the vision I wanted to present myself that night. So that was really kind of cool, and it's the first again because they're a lot better looking than I am, um, and also more confident. And so I was a little nervous, and again, I was just the fact that they all said like, "Oh, you were great. We enjoyed your work." And same thing with the photographer. She really enjoyed myself, and she wanted me to come back. So that really helped a lot. And like I said, I just got really excited, and I wanted to try more things. And I mean, I have a bucket full of list of things that I want to do as a model, and be creative, and stretch that limit of what. People want to put you in a box. I want to stretch that box as far as I can, even step out of it, and do something different. Um, I kind of always, for the most part, I'm down to do anything once. If I hate it, then I'll never do it again. But so I'm really excited. And then at the same time, that enjoyment as being a model really also helped back with being a photographer, and doing photography also helps being a model. And it's just like it's a complete cycle that keeps going through. So it's like, if I shoot with someone, I'm like, hey, real quick, can you take a photo of myself? And so that's how I work. If I'm gonna shoot a couple photos of you, just take one photo of me, so I can have that, and so I can edit it. Like I did a session yesterday with someone, and I think maybe she's used the camera like 3 or 4 times, and so I just set it up real quick, and she hit the button, and I did the editing on the photos, and actually just put them on my Instagram today. But it was just fun, and I just like meeting new people. And for me, there's no real expectations for myself when I come to model, and I think that really helps me enjoy it a lot.
I love that mindset. Do you have a preference for modeling or photography or being behind the camera?
Oh, interesting. No, I mean, I really I enjoy both. Both are it's it's different because like you being behind the camera, you have this opportunity to create your view through your um, through your camera. Basically, that's how you're feeling. You could present that way, or you can change the colors of certain things when it comes to editing. So that's yours. That you can put that to that photo. But then when you're in front of the camera, I can be anything I want, and I can present myself that way. So that helps. So it's like both are really creative, and you can put your style on it both ways. So, but if I had to choose one, I'd probably take photography, just because I think it has the bigger reach and pull that I can reach people through with. And my thing is, it's like I just want to, present positive views, and be that person that's encouraging people to do their best and try their hardest, and take those chances. I mean, this is a chance I took as being a model, and I could have never actually took that chance, and who knows how that would have affected me. I'm so glad I took this chance. And like that's kind of the attitude I mentioned earlier. I'm down to try most things once. If I hate it, then I'll never do it again. But just being open for ideas and suggestions, from yourself, but also other people too. If they have an idea, like let's run with it, let's do it.
And I really like that mindset again, just because like I love this whole positive outlook of being able to try things and just get those creative juices flowing. I think that's really dope.
I just really like. I want to like talk about just finding positive outlets
Hmm.
to for like mental health.
Hmm.
I mean, we have, if you're feeling sad, you have so many options
Hmm.
to help. To to cope with that. I wouldn't say help cope with that, but to cope with it. And there's a lot of a lot of things that you could use to basically drown your feelings away, or you can be positive and try new things and find that passion. And for myself, it's photography, or art. Art's such a huge blanket term that covers so many different things. If it's music, if it's photography, if it's painting, if it's simply cutting out things out of a magazine and using stick glue to glue it on construction to make a collage. There's so much out of there. Or if it's even to me, it's like cooking could be an art, and also gardening could be an art. There's so many different ways, and for me, I just want to talk about as art as a therapy message to yourself, but also it expresses what you're thinking. And there's just so many people that you can connect with.
Let's talk about that a little bit because I think you really nailed something right there. Because like even for me coming out of a depression, like me just picking up a new medium or a new outlet to just put my energy into and find positive energy from it, that's helped me a lot mentally. Like for
Yeah,
me, it was picking up exercise. I can't really do photography and modeling like I really want to at the moment, but I can exercise. And the
yeah,
more I'm focused on fitness and doing stuff with my body, I'm a whole lot happier in the process. And I've also had, this outlet with the podcast. That's something new. And I want people to know that
yeah.
just, and I want people to know that just if you can try to find that outlet, if it would do a ton of good for you. So I guess I can also ask, like, for people wondering, how do they find that outlet for themselves if they haven't found it yet or they don't know where to look?
We all have phones, and we have these.
Hmm.
I'm off an iPad right now. We have computers, so literally anything is in reach of our own. Like we just open it up and we could type. We could figure out certain things. If that device has music, or if you want to do some silly TikTok videos, you could do silly TikTok videos. Or there's so many different things. On YouTube, you can find all these ideas and these ways, or if it's Instagram or any of these other different ways, or just connecting with people through this device, um, that really can kind of help you figure out what you might be interested in, and you might go try it. I mean, again, it gets back to the fact that, like, if you're you have to be open. You have to try things, and if you're not open and you're not going to try things, and you're not flexible, um, you might not really benefit yourself by that way, and you might still just wind up being in that cycle of not feeling happy and not being yourself. But like taking those chances, and I know that's hard. I really know that's hard to take that. I used to be that shy kid in high school, and thank God, college really broke me out of that cycle. But I still know that there's certain things that you get nervous about. But at the end of the day, if you fall flat on your face, you're gonna get up, and it's gonna take maybe a couple days to forget about it. But once you forget about it, you're gonna wind up doing something else again, and you'll find that passion. It might not be easy right at first, but once you find that, you're really gonna enjoy it. And like I said, if it's cooking, or if it's gardening, or if it's buying getting a dog, a rescue dog, or a rescue cat, or something like that, you can find that. Or if it's even cleaning, some people like to clean.
Hmm.
There's all those things like that that can give you joy. So
I think that's some really good advice. I think that might be a good place to end on. Just have people chew on that and just find an outlet, find their quote unquote distraction, and then just if they still can't find an outlet, then hey, therapy helps, but finding an outlet is a great place to start. I thank you for
yeah,
that
finding those
advice.
outlets, or even like podcasts like yourself. I mean,
Hmm.
anything, again, that's something that's a reach from that. And there's so many different like subcategories of that, that you can get with podcasts. And there's just so many different mediums that we have information access to, which is it's a blessing for us.
Hmm. And I thank you for that advice, and I thank you for coming on. But before we end, I do this thing with all my guests where I have a segment I like to say I'm giving my guests their flowers, make sure they're appreciated, make sure they know how much I appreciate them in case we never talk again for whatever reason. And I appreciate you just for being so daring and confident behind and in front of the camera. You have this eclectic vibrance as Scott and as Polly, which I just think is so cool and so awesome. And I'm really glad that we've gotten to know each other recently. And hopefully, when the world blows over, calms down a little bit, I can either model for you or you can model for me, however it
Yeah.
works. But I hope this relationship continues, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks for putting this podcast. I just hopefully I can connect with one person, or this podcast connect with someone, or you get more people on your podcast, and people can connect with the content you're putting out there, man. So thank you for putting that out.
Thanks again, Scott, for that conversation. Even with the technical difficulties, I think that he said some really cool things, and he gave some really worthwhile advice that I think we can all learn from, especially near the end. Hopefully, maybe we could have a follow-up check-in episode, hopefully with less technical difficulties, but till then, you can follow his work at Sat Millington and Polyrocket, both on Instagram. And for this podcast, you can keep up with new episodes on all streaming platforms, or you can give us feedback on Twitter at Check-In Pod, on Instagram at Mental Health Check-In, or by emailing us at mentalhealthcheckin@gmail.com. But whatever you do, I want you to know that you are loved and you are deserving of love. Take care and take care of yourself.